That would have been
All right, yeah.
Hey, Ann, how are you, mate?
then coming back, the cold weather.
Hey, you guys.
I wanna talk about.
How you been? Doing lots of ceramics, I see.
With apartment that was placed on the apartment.
Yeah.
You can do there, we don't know, like, use our skin, just have that sort of thing. So everybody there has to family. And this is my one of the families holiday place. So it's Friday, the next days, next close to Pula, if I go to Alabama weekend, I spend there every day.
And that's crazy.
Oh, good. It's been got exciting news. Laurie bought I think it's called an air buddy because we've been doing a lot of snorkeling. And we're looking to do scuba. We're waiting for us both to get time to do that. He's bought a thing called an air buddy. It's about that big, and it floats like a little boogie board next to you. It's got a 12-meter lead on it. It's got a little compressor, and it compresses the air. And you put a little air thing in, and you can just dive. And it's just the most insanely easy thing. Wow. Well, he's just bought one last week because we do metal detecting and stuff. He's got an underwater metal detector thing. And so he's just bought one, and we just tried it. We went on Monday, we went for a dive at, despite the weather, we went down to bush ranges. I went for a dive there, and it's just amazing. It's just, it's got a little little marine battery in it, charged up. It'll run for about an hour, and then you've got. Oh, but if it runs out, it's got an audible alarm, so you'll hear that, number one. If you're only 12 metres deep, but you've still got a breath or two of air, you've got probably 4 minutes or something still in the tank when the compressor shuts out. So you've got enough to go up. But even if you've just got a mouthful and you hear the alarm, you could just go up anyway. The good practice is to breathe in and out as you go up, because it helps you to recompress and all that sort of stuff. But it's just great. It's just so easy. There's a family of great nurse that live there, and they're harmless, and you see them, and you get up to. I've been close enough to almost touch them. But the last time I went on a really sunny day diving, I bought the GoPro and I thought, I'm going to see the sharks. I'm going to do that. And I'm, there's a little anemone, and I'm filming this, and there's a little this, there's an eel, and I'm filming that. And I'm swimming around. Then next thing, the shark popped up, and I just turned back, and it was following me, and it was just like I could have touched it. And I went like that. It went like that. The light on the GoPro went bink, bink. And it turned itself off, and it ran out of batteries as I was putting it in the shark. I was like, that's mad. But yeah, they just drift around and.
So you were like, I left there at 10 p.m. 15 hours.
Yeah. So it's bush range is a marine reserve, so you can't fish there or near it, sort of thing. So I'll be drifting along, and you just see flathead, just a big flathead, just going underneath you, and it's like something you never see. But that's our latest thing. So I may or may not buy one. They're about $3,000. So it's a lot of money, but it's high quality gear.
You gotta wear a weight belt too when you're down there? Or?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that we've done, because we're normally weighted for spearing. So you're on the top a lot, and then you go down. But when you're metal detecting, you've got more weight on, so that you literally just smudge it along on the bottom. But he wants to go for a dive when we finish here. Yeah. He wants to go and that's the thing that he's doing is practicing his buoyancy and his weight.
Yeah, awesome.
Oh, it's such
That's cool.
fun.
I was going to go for a fish, but it was raining so much before I came here. But, yeah, I was looking all along the lake and stuff. And,
Oh, it's pretty horrible. And
yeah, it's
one
gross
day
out
when
there.
there was zero visibility.
Yeah, all that rain we've had too. This is like coming out of the lake. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you fish a bit, do you?
Yeah, I only probably the last 6 months. I did as a kid. I've gotten into it a bit more recently. So yeah, just walking sandbanks and fishing. So yeah, it's good fun. I'm up in the Shire, so I've got George River and Zach, both rivers kind of close to each other, so I can kind of pick and choose which one I want to go for. But yeah, it's been good fun. Mainly catching like bream and flathead and stuff.
I love it. We fish a lot.
Yeah. It's good fun. My wife likes it too. She's like, when you bring fish home, it's good. When you don't, it's not.
I fish a lot, but I don't bring a lot home.
No, well, like I let a fair few of them go. Only the odd one I'll keep.
Yeah.
And yeah, my daughter's been eating fish now, so that's good. But yeah, I've been getting into it recently, so it's good fun. Was it just on 12:30?
Yeah, 12:30. Yeah.
You're a bit early.
How can I see how that's filming this camera?
Yeah.
But see how everything's backwards. How do I change
It's mirrored. You can mirror it. Can you spin it upside down? No, that doesn't work. It's can you mirror it on the actual video? I mean, you can mirror it in post if you want to edit it.
Yeah.
It's just strange that the camera's doing
Video
that.
settings. Here we go.
With the flip mirror.
Oh, I had clicked mirror.
There you go.
Thank you.
That's all right.
How do I change the zoom on it?
I would like to like on the keyboard on board.
That's what I need more paperwork in my life.
Good, mate. Good. Oh, thank you. Well, better grab that. You'd be interested in. I live at it's a next door to it. Yeah, it's mad. It's massive. It is, isn't it? Have you had a go? I've wandered out there. My nephew came down with my son, and they borrowed my bike. Lorry's bike. They went out there, and I was following them. But it's mad. I'm waiting for the weather to clear up. So I'll go. That's probably when Laurie and Eli went. Yeah. Okay. But it was, and they were basically what deal with it. But I imagine that, they just deal with it. It's good fun. And then I definitely will.
So you have a farm or something?
Yeah, Lake Heights. Yeah.
Oh no, today we saw.
That's my son's. I was just dropping that job more and saying to
Oh, yeah.
Jason too. So that actual place, it's on the hill going up there. They're not seeing it. Then on that house, I saw it when I was built about 15 years ago. And it was a frame stage, that roof on, I was looking at going.
They take my
Couple days later went past, and it was literally falling down. I've never seen it fall. And on the bottom of this road, falling over, like slipped down the hill. And I've never seen the house that. It's scary. I'm we're on the hill at that place. All the neighbours, stormwater comes across the way. Yeah, so I've got to put a drain there, and he's he doesn't care. It's off his property.
Not that I'm on insurance or anything, but yeah.
So it actually gone down by the time. Oh, it's flat. Yeah. This is no, it's not 2 hours. No, it's easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, two of them. Three of them, actually. Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, I've taken my wife and I went to Melbourne, which was good. Yeah, my wife and daughter came over to explore Melbourne. Yeah, it's good. Then I went, I went to the one out west. All the talks are great. And look, the dinners are fun, especially the submitting something, but I haven't submitted anything yet. But yeah, it's good fun. Yeah, and you get to.
Yeah, but Matt, what you're going to do, if you want to submit it to your
I'm pushing you to submit.
Oh, no.
So I support you.
You would, yeah. So what you've got to submit locally first.
Yes.
Grab a copy, submit the application for your award first in the local, in your local area, and then you can then submit.
Yeah.
If you then submit international,
Yeah, and you can submit built and unbuilt as well. So there's categories for unbuilt stuff.
I thought that unbuilt started only.
It's not only students, no.
No.
There was some things that are unbuilt, but look, if you were like just starting out, it makes sense. Like people want to get their name out there to do some things. So yeah.
all right, we'll get started. Welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time to come out and join us for another chapter meeting. I want to thank Glenn for coming today from WeatherText to do his presentation. We'll be running through a couple of topics today, obviously the WeatherText presentation, and also we'll be touching base with respect to some accreditation, and we might have a bit of a round table discussion in respect to that. And then I'll be then just touching base and debriefing in regards to the kind of strategic meeting that was held in April, and just sort of giving a heads up as to the outcome of that, and just advising what council had heard in that meeting. And we can, as a chapter, go back and put a submission in for what we need as a collective. I think it's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity for us as a chapter to put in that submission and yes, hopefully Crime Council are heading in the right direction. But as I say, never say never. So I'll leave it to Glenn to get started. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, morning. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, obviously my name's Glenn Cancross. A little background, I've always been in the building industry. I first met the BDAA in 2000, and that seemed a long time ago. Since then, I've covered the BDA all around New South Wales, down Victoria, and up in Queensland. And it's a great association. We're really proud to be part of your association. And I dragged our company kicking and screaming and getting us to accept a lot of different, we're getting people to accept what WeatherTech does, and it was a great journey because you guys, I find, are very quick on the uptake and tend to be very up to date with materials. I also call on other architects associations, and in the old days when I was marketing 50 different products, they were very slow on uptake. I'm sure that's changed now. So if there's any architects watching, it's still great people. So we're going to talk about condensation and in cavity battens or cavity space. It's nothing new. It's been happening for quite some time, and you probably, if you're up around my vintage, you used to drive around the country and see the barns and you see the frame ghosting through the wall. That was bad condensation issues, especially with corrugated iron, what we used to do. So learning outcomes today, you've got a little bit about the history, mold, the risk and possible damage, and the risk to your health as well, which is something a lot of people don't think about. Condensation, vapor, the science, it's pretty easy. I can solve that with a glass of beer on the table. I'll show you how that works. Well, I would show you a glass of beer, just to take my word for that one. Solutions, how you can address it, and the R values, current up to bar values, and they might change again as they do, and we'll see where we are with that. So the history of, or contributing factors, is it started way back in about 1974 actually. I think it was the first, there was the oil, there was a bit of a war in the Middle East, some of you might remember, and there was an embargo put on the cost of oil. Places like Scotland, England, Canada, America were using oil to heat their homes. I've got Scottish heritage, so I can say this, we're tight asses, we don't like paying a lot of money. And so what happened is they started wrapping buildings. I mean, they've always done beautiful stonework and things like that, and with a great spacing, which acted really well. But there's a couple of places where there's a workplace and people were getting ill, and it was because they had used wraps and different things rather than heating. And while it worked, it was getting a lot of moisture in there. But because they lowered their dependency in oil, other countries did it. So you found that Canada did it. America said, whatever Canada can do, we can do better. Hey, we'll do it. And then it got to our brothers across the ditch, hey, and they did it. And then we actually copied them. And one by one, we've all had problems with condensation. And that's where it really started way back then. For us here, it was a big factor in when the governments decided not to invest in power energy anymore, and hope that something would happen. So we started wrapping to try and lower energy costs and put it back on us, the citizens, to make sure we have our own energy. So, and that's not cynical, that's just what happened. So this is what you see here, I say Canada, Europe, they had it, which is crazy, the way they've been doing, Japan, USA, and Australia. It was a big repair bill. I was lucky enough to go for a tour, or unlucky enough, with the CMS. Anyone remembers the old CMS days when we used to come out with a whole lot of, yeah, I was that guy. And we did a tour in New Zealand with Big Buddy, I remember him, and I could not believe some of the stuff I was seeing over there. They were one of the first countries to introduce the polystyrene walls, and there was a place where instead of using proprietary, what they recommended, taping systems or the glues, some people went, it's really cheap to use Tarzan glue, so we'll use that, and it just ate away foam, let moisture get through. I actually saw some studs there that had a third of their thickness completely rotted out, and I saw bottom plates that were rotted out. And the other interesting bypass of that was, or byline of that is, it was easy to break into houses because they found it to kick through, but then the big body can't get through some of the 600 things, but that was interesting. So condensation, it occurs within the fabric of building where it isn't always obvious, and that's one of the things we need to think about. You probably all know about this, and if I'm telling you how to suck eggs and know how to do it, I apologise for that. But I need to get through this So you can get your point or your points and get in the back of your mind what's happening. So the possible damages can be very severe, like I told you. And as designers, who's responsible for the construction methods on housing, at the end of this, I'll tell you a very, very scary story of a court case that ended up on the North Shore when we first started doing this. And anyone who's ever heard about it before, let me know. So I won't drag on about it. So let's surface more interstitial condensation causing heating mold. All that means is a transfer of moisture in between areas, really. Insulation, air tightness moves problems from visible to invisible, and that's what we've been doing. And possible decay, well, it's not just possible, it actually happens. There are a lot of new materials you can use now. It's a lot of new methods to get a transfer of air to get that cavity in your eye. So you can see here, what's happened is in the wall, it's condensated. There's condensation, and you'll see it's got this bracing bar there. What happens is that gets cold, gets droplets on it, and it goes through. That's why you tend to get it. Here, I'd imagine there's a power point. The amount of moisture can go through a power point in the wall, whether that's a power point or a switch, it gets through. And I'll cover that as well. It is quite scary how much. And that particular job there, we've got another one coming. That wasn't too long into the life of that building. And one near the end, you see, it's just crazy. So the condensation, how's it happened? Well, high pressure systems, everyone knows our high pressure systems, our low pressure systems. So where it's hot, it's high, and where it's low, and it always goes hot to cold. So in Australia, we probably start losing this factor up around Bundaberg, maybe a bit lower in Queensland, where it's reversed there. Because normally in the south, we're warmer inside the house on the outside, but in there it's reversed because it's so stinking hot. Who wants to live there anyway? Can't swim. So stay here on the lovely south coast. So a lot of moisture can get through, and your plasterboard is very permeable. So how does it do it? Well, we talked about it. You can actually get 30 litres of water can go through the air through a 2400 by 1200 sheet of plasterboard, depending on the amount of holes you have in it. Even if you don't, it's permeable and you can get through. So it's quite a lot. What the worst part is, depending on how high the relevant temperature is and humidity, is how long it's going to sit in there, and if you have drainage holes. For those of you that aren't all that old, and that's probably half of you in this place, I lived in a place called Wally Park in the middle of Sydney, and that was built at the end of World War II, where they put up brick donors as quick as they could for returning soldiers. We had eave vents in our eaves. We had the old beautiful terracotta eaves, and each room had a access of air into through that. The wall was brick veneer, and boy, does moisture get in through brick veneer. But we all had loopholes that no one rendered over and blocked. And so the air circulated. The other thing too we had was we weren't living right on top of our neighbours, so we didn't have to shut our windows. In fact, we lived most of our lives when I was growing up, used to scare the hell out of me. We never locked the back doors or the front doors. But today, you can't do that. Sadly enough, or the person next to you is probably only built, in some cases, 900 mils from your wall. So when you clean your teeth in the morning, you go, hey, take time, have to come, put your pants back on. So it's really bad. But that's how we used to do it, and it used to work. So we're now going to try and fix it where we can go back to that way. But one thing that's missing is, in our family at least, that wasn't missing, in those days we had a 3-bar electrical heater because we had the cheapest energy in the world. Now you can't use energy like that anymore, depending on where it's manufactured or how it's generated. So that's why that's gone out. But it was great. We didn't get the little marshmallows and try and toast it. And if I ever got stuck there and sit on you. So I've rubbed it on a bit for you, but just to let you know. So dry wall system, no insulation, have a dry wall system. Again, you can see the pressure, the temperature here compared to the exterior. So the moisture is going to pass through. The face of the sarking is warmed by the cooling or temperatures you can see there, and vapor evaporates. I'd still, if it was me, I'd like to have some leak holes in there somewhere, and you can do that. So with insulation, the walls have become wet. The other thing too is bats, when they get moist, they start losing their R value rating very quickly. And I've actually opened up a wall because I'm a frustrated builder. I'm just frustrated, but I've opened it up and I've seen it slump up to 30% of the size down into the noggin. So yeah, it doesn't work too well if it's a lot of moisture in there. So vapor resistance, you see the different materials here. And what we're talking about that is the resistance to let more airflow through or moisture out. And so in this particular case, we see a breather foil, not so good. If you see here, if you go to a vapor permeable membrane, which is generally this one with thin sheets, you can get the moisture or the air coming out very quickly through the system, because you'll have high pressure, as I say. So it's one of the things to look at. What's really scary is the concrete versus breather foil. There's not a lot of difference there. And yeah, gloss paint's not so good either. But gloss paint is really good for protecting the outside, and that's why we can have breathers on the place. Is everyone with me? Okay. Good. That doesn't look good on my CV. So you can see what we're looking at is the science of it, and you've got Newton meters, you've got the pressure system, what you're going to need. So 6.5 perforated breathable reflective insulated doesn't need much raw to be able to get it through, you can see. Whereas the perforated breather foil not so good. How much you get through, and the vapor permeable membrane, you don't need as much pressure behind it and pass through quite easily. So what's more sufficient? Well, breathability is really important, and there's other things we can do just besides the walls. Some of our new window systems that have on the sill here, and you get these in Europe, if you've seen it, look them up. They have what they call bipolar metals that move depending on it's cold or it's hot. So what they do is they work it so during the airflow can go through in the summer, and the winter tends to cut off. It just moves by itself. The other thing they've got in Europe, and you probably already know this, they've got plasterboard that has liquid, has wax in the plasterboard, that when it's really hot, it becomes a fluid. But when it's really cold, it goes hard and acts as another way of stopping coldness going into the house. It's been around for ages there. We don't have it here in Australia. I don't think so. Last time I was talking to them was Lafarge, which was probably about 5 years ago now. They didn't see much use for it. So there are things to do that we don't do yet. So products that have been sold as breathers, you can see your vapor resistance, that's Newton meters per second per gram. That's an amount of force meat. You really want to have the least amount of force to get the air going through. And you can see there that your, you can see here, you need to have less, I just got that wrong for you. So you want your vapor permeability to make it easier for the vapor resistance to go through one way or the other. And you can see that the breather membrane is, you can see where the vapor permeability is here. It's a lot better.
Who's A, P, and G and T?
Sorry, what's that?
Product. G, P, A, product, T.
Oh, AP.
Oh, no, so product G, product T, the red highlighted box.
Yeah. So the breather foil, why they put that in product B&A, is just having a look at, as far as I can see, I'll have to check that one out, but that would tend to be pretty close to your molded wall panel systems. Okay. So I just want to check that.
I think product A on the last list that you had was bitumen faced foil.
Yeah.
From memory, yeah.
And I use a product called Aircell. I'm not having to go Aircell, but I use it in roof lining in my garage. There's a whole big car underneath. and it was great in summer. In winter, I got a lot of moisture, but all I did in that particular case is I took my little lead lining out and let the moisture go that way. But then I had to put mesh in there to stop the birds getting in. But that worked quite well. However, it's better if you do have a breathable membrane by the way you go. And now with the really good batch systems you're having behind it, it just all of it works together to help each other. Conversation still going on about it. So how much goes through? Well, means if you look here, how much vapor pass through 10 square meters a day. If it's a vapor permeable membrane, it lets what go through. If you're going to a perforated foil, not as much. And you can see perforated reflective insulation is even less. So you want as much as possible to go through. So again, it's probably pointing out the obvious that the vapor permeable membrane. And I think on the next slide, because I haven't done this one for quite some time, I think here we might have the amount of moisture go through power plants and things like that. But see, it's not so much how much water and moisture in your cavity that you have, it's how quickly it dries. And you can see there, that takes a long time to dry out. So moisture in there isn't necessary to kill it, it's how long it's going to stay. So using the vapor permeable membrane, you can see the temperature in the sides, you've got blood pressure system that's going to go out to blood pressure system. So what happens is, in this case, your moisture is in a gaseous state. So it's moving through your gyprock and your membrane. And then when it hits, if we're going to have it in another space there, technically, it'll be a dew point, probably. So the moisture will come out and form as droplets of water, so it'll come out solid. If you want to know exactly how that works, get a cold beer or a really cold drink in a club somewhere and put it on the table and watch how quickly the moisture goes on the outside. It's not moisture from the beer, it's coming to it with the cold surface. I never have that problem, so I finish my beer too quickly. So, yeah, I have to be told that. So if you put a cavity batten system in, it's giving that airspace. So when it does come out and solidifies or condensates, it can get out of there. Now, it's really important that we leave gaps. If you were to run your cavity batten all the way up the start and then run one in your noggin, which you should have shown here, to it, all you've done is create little sealed air cells and the air can't go through. I am still today, as late as last week, going to build and saying, hey, leave a gap. And the best, the other thing too is, I said on the noggin, when you put your batten on, have it slightly crooked. Should be easy for you, you're a builder, you can't get them straight. I said, but also leave a gap at the end. Why would you do that? I said, well, the water's got to run off and drop in. And that's builders, and that was a big building. So anyway, so yeah, that's what you do. And now we're doing a lot of horizontal batten systems because of the materials we're putting on. Personally, it's got nothing to do with this. It's a bigger pain to do it that way because you're going to get more thickness in. You are having to get more thickness because you're going to use a cavity bat or castellated edge on the board to let the moisture out because otherwise it'll sit up against the back of the boards, things like that. And you don't want that. So, addressing the problem, architectural panels or weatherboards creates cavity. So you can do, depending on what you're doing, by just having that, you have the ability for the air to circulate, and it will. The other thing you should do too is have some type of perforation on the bottom to keep things like mice and moths and things like that out, but let moisture drain out. You still get your ants in, because you have your holes any smaller. And if you're doing it yourself, don't drill round holes into a piece of metal and expect the water to come out, because the hole's got to be very big before the water comes out, because the tension on the surface of the water, if it's a quarter of an inch or less, it'll probably stay there and doesn't want to go out. But if you put a slot in like we do, and other manufacturers who are quite sensible, they'll have slots and the water comes out, and then you can have a thinner slot to stop more size of them. That's some practical stuff there. So what does the NCC code volume 2 require? Well, You can see here, pliable building membrane is installed as an external wall must comply with Australian and New Zealand standards. There, you can read all this. It's got to be located on the exterior side of the primary insulation layer of walls, which is, I thought was obvious, but then again, I thought some of the builders are saying. Is that, does anyone here does building as well? Oh, good, okay, that's a good problem. So we're going to see there, so the climate zones 4 and 5 and all that up to there, probably on the cusp of meeting it, depends. I really think from the experience I've seen and travelling all around the eastern states of Australia, I'd be looking at 5 to 8. Now I still do work in Canberra and I still have builders who don't do cavity maintenance systems. And there's already 3 companies there. Their whole time is spent repairing moisture. Sometimes it's in sealing bars and things like that, but a lot of it's in the wall systems. And we've really only introduced a system like this since about 2006. So it happens quite quickly. The other thing too, you can open up your windows in the house and that helps a lot. But when you get home, you'll have no furniture and everything else. It's one of those things you got to see. So a single skin masonry or single skin concrete where it where a spiral membrane is not installed, the primary water control layer must be separated from the water sensitive material by a drain cavity. Just makes sense. And you can have some people, what I see a lot is where you have your pushing weed bowl now, if you get the place rendered, they always fill up, you need to get them clear. And some people, one of the builders does a really good job, they actually have like a bit of mortar in the bottom and even make it sort of channel towards that, which is quite smart, even though the moisture normally just sinks into it. So they're the things you've got to think about. And like I say, above climate zones 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, except for climate zone 1, what does weather text require? Well, we have a cavity batten recommended that's not compulsory yet. Still, that I look at 5 or 6, 7. All depends. And again, why Queensland doesn't need it is because you've got reverse problems there. So really, they should have reverse equipment inside, something else on the outside. And even I ran a building office in Brisbane for 1990 to 95 to, it's not 90 to 95, we just have to travel up. I would see probably up to Maryborough some of the problems and conversations that can get cold. And if I was living at the back of Cairns up in the tablelands there or something like that, I'd probably do it there because it does get quite moist and cool and warm in the summer, very much so. And you do get massive rainfall. So you've all seen this before, yeah? Mm-hmm. Facts about R values. All foils really have no R value. And the reason for that is that it's on reflection, and your wall inside the foil inside the wall doesn't have reflectivity. Does it? I did that one in my roof. I had very big supports holding up my roof, my metal roof, and I probably used I think about 200 mils, and then I had that in it, and then I had some more stuff underneath that, and it worked quite well. But as I say, moisture came from during the day. So, oops, our values. So if you just have a reflective sarking in a 9mm vat, you're looking at 0.47. Invented reflective airspace in the wall 0.3. You'd see 0.9. It's nothing. It's not going to work. It wouldn't work with any system really, and it's not the fault of the building can do that. It's just it's just crazy. So reflective sarking, you can see 0.3. You'd have to have an R value of 2 in the wall minimum to get 2.3. If you do a vapor permeable membrane with R2 bulk installation, and we say 9mm vented non-reflective cavity, why we say that is our board is 9.5mm thick, and if we do cut it into a 45 or 1200 for the builders to put straight on, you can use, you could use 12, you could use pine, 22, 25 pine, something like that as well. So you'll achieve 2.44. That's going up already. We're going to want to require some more on that. So is it a risk? Here's the story I was going to tell you about. That's really bad mold, you agree? This, probably because the court case has already done it to say where it was, but it's up on the North Shore, and it was an existing house, and some very affluent people purchased it, and they added some walls and things like that to it. And they put the oil and stuff in, and the poor lady started getting symptoms of irritation in the nose and other things, and then got quite ill. And what happened was her mold was growing in, and real scary. Mold you can breathe it in, and it'll affect some people. My brother has really bad sinuses, and anything like that would stuck him around. But they didn't know what was happening at first. So when the mold came on the roof, in the ceiling and things like that, they actually cleaned it all and repainted it. And it came back again, and she got sick again. So when they came out and had a look at it, this is what they found. Now, the builder had built to the code at the time. So he'd done everything, well, supposedly, so as much as he could do. The bats were okay. It's just that they didn't have any air getting into it. So it was heating the space up. Moisture was coming through and just stopping there. It ended up going to court, and no one really won really, because the builder had to redo it. So he had to redo what he'd done. But I just try and remember the owners had to do something as well. So I wasn't so sure it was partial. So what we're trying to say is, people go, oh, it's only just mold. Well, it can really wreck your lungs. You know, it can really get in there and cause a problem, and can do it really quickly. I've done caving, and I've had no problems, but I remember going into a very, very old house in the country area, and I got sick. That's almost straight away to climb through, trying to help somebody see if they really wanted the house and figure it out and all this type of thing. And we're also looking for a vintage, what we thought was a World War II vehicle, packed away in pieces. It wasn't there, unfortunately. Yeah, and it really affected me. I used to get bronchitis when I was young. Maybe I have lungs that get irritated, but I'm done. So yeah, it can be very serious, and it can happen really quickly. I think that job wasn't even 6 months old when they started getting all the mold inside. So we've come through. So learning outcomes, history, factors, yeah. We have to cut down our energy bills, so we do it this way, and it's a sensible way of doing things anyway. Mold is a risk, let me tell you. Condensation, vapor of science, so you know that hot air takes the moisture through to the cold air, and hopefully it gets out to the system where it can evaporate. Solutions addressing the issue, they're all in our codes. You can see how to do it. All the manufacturers now have a recommendation of what to do and drawings and things like that. And I just, most of the time now, you see it happening. Okay, so you need for your points to go through this and keep this if ever you're audited. I don't know if anyone's ever been audited, but put your little mark down, and I need you to send me, whoever's in charge, everyone's email addresses, so I can send a certificate for them. So there's another thing.
It could be more of those forms.
Yeah.
There's one here.
Just put your name on a plate somewhere. Have I known of anyone being audited? No. Not at all. When we first started, and it used to be through, you know, we used to register business there. Yeah, I actually had, I was audited then when I was doing this type of presentation many years ago, when I was with Okay, so condensation mold, name a risk or possible damage brought about. Sick building syndrome, yeah. Possible cave syndrome, yeah. Severe mold, so it's B, all the above. You all had that, didn't you? I've given you time to get your answers on it. I know you already have. Great stuff. Name 2 ways by which water vapor may enter the cavity. wall cavities and cavity battens, fusion through plasterboard and leaking through holes and lines, yeah, rain, snow, all up. Well, wall cavities and cavity battens, I think it's good. Would you agree?
Says name 2 ways.
Yeah, so it's 2 ways. Well, you got, there had to be that A and B. I'm just thinking 2 ways of which water vapor may into the cavity. Yeah, that would.
Why could it be B and C? Because you're basically talking about how the water gets into the cavities, and you A is the
It's from the
cavity.
outside.
Yeah,
it's
A is stating the place that they're going to,
Yeah.
but B and C,
Should be B and C.
yeah, they're pathways to
Yeah.
access. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the wall cavity really is just the way of being rid of the problem. So, condensation vapor pressure is typically higher inside the house than out. We all know what that is. Yes, true. Condensation, which material has the lowest vapor resistance? It would be vapor permeable membrane. That's why we talked about it. Which of the following construction systems has the highest R value? Reflective sarking? C. Yeah. C. The pattern R value of bulk insulated wall with vapor permeable membrane doing increase. Doing increase. Additional cavity max for installing stadium everyone. The history increase in New South Wales, yes, it did in 2000 is when we started, about 2000, but as I mentioned to you, it was already happening. We knew about it. The increase in bulk insulation air types contributed to the concealed condensation mold problems. True. Condensation mold issues contributing to concealed molding wall. The wall cavities include reduced air circulation, yes. Increased condensation, yes. Addition of bulk insulation has caused problems, so it's all of the above. Vapor panel membrane, cavity battens, architectural panels, and weatherboards. What we're talking about there is perfect. No, I don't think so. Assist in reducing interstitial mold and concealed condensation by providing panel cycling labour. Yep. Providing additional air gap in the wall system. Yep. Allow free drainage. So it's D, all above. And that's it. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate that. There's a box here with bags for everybody. There's 10. So everyone going to take one? Yeah. It's just got some information on WeatherTech. Final thing is thank you for letting me come and talk to you about this one. If you have any questions, ask them now. If not, you've got my email address. You can flick it through. If you can't find any tech drawings on it, let me know and I can flick it through. And on our website, we have great I'm going to stay till afterwards anyway. We have great installation drawings and information, which are up to date to the latest codes as well. Thank you. Take over. Let's do that. I forgot. We've launched a new product. I hope you all saw it come through knowingly on your email somewhere. This is one of our horizontal boards. It's our self-lock system, which is a board that laps onto itself. It doesn't overhang like a tinker hole. And we're now doing a supple re-groove. So it's nothing like WeatherTech to be supple, is it? But no, we done it. So it looks really good. It's in smooth. It makes the board look like a 150. Probably get a lot of interior work, which we're getting, by the way. So I just put some information on that. It should be hitting your emails now. You can go on our website and see it. I will have samples as of the week after next. So if you need a hard sample to just show your client because they're touchy-feely, or they just, you know, some people, I love seeing things, I must admit. So yes, we can do that for you. Okay.
Thank you. Can I
Thanks,
ask you a quick question about WeatherTech's products generally? Are they all made of wood pulp?
Yeah, so what happens, as you all know, you've heard it, we've got 43 different species of eucalyptus that we can use, something more than that. And it's a forest waste. So what you may not know is for every 1 tonne of paintable wood that you use anywhere in Australia, there's about a 6 tonne waste. Yeah, and we only get from the state-run forestry. However, we have started on some private ones since COVID, supply from the state-run forestry, which has accreditation, worldwide recognised, we had to get some private clearing, but the private clearing has to be passed by the government anyway, so that's how. But we're still up there with over 80% of our material comes from that. And the ones we use, most of them are really low grade. We do have some good stuff, like all your harder woods like the swamp holdings and black bark. But the truth is, it doesn't matter what product you use, unlike whatever Alpha 43, it's the magic of eucalypt in that they have lignin inside them that holds the tree together. So when we steam, does anyone process how we do it?
No, that was my next
Is
question.
that all right? I just don't want to take up all your time because I can't have it on. So I'm really
Sorry, I'm so new to this.
Is that all right? Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
really
So what happens is a lot of times when they're sleeping a lot, because they can't X-ray each one, sometimes they're slightly hollow inside or they've got branches that are no good. And they don't clear fell. If you see that one that was on the net about 12 years ago, that was pine forest, the commercial grown in Canberra. So what we do is we get the logs, we run through a wood chipper, so they come out 20 mil wood chips. Who hasn't been to a factory yet? You've got to go there. The machinery is designed to get aligned. It's like going back to the Industrial Revolution. So, and we're the only place in the world now that does the system. So what happens is we have a great big pressure cooker, like 244 gallon drums for young people, 210 litres. And we steam it for about 90 seconds at 1000 psi and 230 degrees Celsius. At the end, where the cap is, there's an industrial grate, a bit like your grate in your bathroom, except really big, obviously. We suddenly release that, the pressure pushes it through and it rips in the fibres. Now, while we're doing that and steaming it, a lot of moisture comes out. Your sucrose and starch get steamed out. What do termites like? They need the sucrose or the starch to turn sucrose into food. So we say it's a termite resistant product. Have I seen it have termites have a go at it? Yes, I have. And what they do is it's like someone got a blunt nail on it like that. Has anyone seen termites, like the movie on it? Yeah, the smart apes, aren't they? It's really quite sad. Does everyone know what they do? You know, you pour it on them, how you put it around your house. Do you know how they test that? They'll put it on a big bench and they'll put a rock in the middle, full of termites, and then put termite food around the outside. And they start doing this and this, and then they suddenly decide, I'm going to kill myself. And they form a track of dead bodies and they'll all get over it. So termites are really smart. It's like a horror movie, 20 pages ago. So what happens is, and the lignin in the tree that holds it together becomes moisture. So then we add 3% natural wax and water. It comes out in a slurry like the sperm, probably almost as your old coir mat, just have the front door. And then we compress it for about 25 minutes. We compress it, and the different plates have the different textures. All of our plates are 3.6 metres by 12.20 wide. Squeeze it all out, squeeze it all out, squeeze it all out, and then we put it away for 24 hours because it's pretty hot. We can only stack it a certain height, otherwise you can get combustion happen. So in that process, the lignin just dries and holds back together. There is no other man-made wood product in the world that can do it. So when I was going to Asia and doing our export, I think the product's called Canvas, and it comes out of America. I think they use sequoia trees, and it just doesn't have the same ability. So they have to add some nasty things to hold together, and they have to paint it. That's why our natural wood has no paint. You don't need to paint it. Whether it'll resist the weather, it'll just fade. That's the trouble. Yeah. So after that's done, what happens is, you imagine we're compressing it. This side's got the plate. This side's got stainless steel mesh to let the moisture out. So on the bottom, it's a bit like a ferric peach. So we run it through the next day in a planer. Now, because our board is an extruded, it's pressed, you'll find 99.9% it's always exactly 9.5 mil thick. Whereas other products, because they go through a roller, sometimes they can vary, and you can see it on the wall, although a lot of times you see it on the wall, it's probably the frame, it's not necessarily the manufacturer. So we do that, and then we cut it up into different sizes. So we can cut it at 360, 3050, a 2440, or we run it into boards. They can be a board of 170, which is a 5-knot system, which is an overlap system, or 170-200, and then you've got 300, and that's what the different sizes are. And all we do is run it through a primer. We're the first place in Australia to have a acrylic primer. We have a vacuum system. So what happens is it goes through a sprayer and paint doesn't fall on the floor, go there, it's sucked into the vacuum system. We also use our own water. We don't use town water. We have water that we run it through the factory 14 times, and then it goes out to 2,000 acres of softwood and hardwood forest and pumps into that. We have the Environmental Protection Agency come out and monitor us every now and then, and the water table hasn't risen, hasn't fallen. And they did tell me, because I used to be writing this when I first started with weather text, because I knew it was on the internet. I can't remember, it's 100 years or 1,000 years or whatever it is. It goes back through the earth and then goes on that watercourse again as pure water. So there's a lot of good things about it, and that's how we do it. So
Can I ask any questions?
yeah, you can ask me.
With the curves coming out, I feel like it's really hard to find something that can.
Curve.
The only one I could find was where the text was 1200.
Yeah, so we can
Minus
do.
radius.
Yeah, the tightest radius we do on our cell block system is actually 2.4 meters. With the sheet system, it's actually 7.2. But what a lot is, anyone people here know a little bit about building? What I'm saying. Sorry. So I get a lot of jobs where they get down to 1.2 radius on the sheet. So what they do is they've got their bottom plate curve. They put they'll put their studs probably not more than 100 mil apart. I'll put the alcohol over that, so the waterproofing, and then they'll cut our boards into little strips and put it on and seal it. And we don't warranty that. However, I've got a job, I'm just trying to remember what it is now. It was done probably in about 2012, and it's still fine. There's one in Nowra where it's got a curved wall, they've done the same thing, but it's not as tight as 1.2. So you can do it, yeah.
But is there any future intention coming out with a product that can return and?
No, I think it's going to be pretty hard because our board is very, very strong. So to give you an idea, and I'm not having to go with FC sheet, if I had a choice, because I have it on site, so I prefer to use WeatherTech. But I think your 16 mil FC sheet has a modular rupture at about 20 MPa. Our board comes 32 MPa. When you get down to a 12 mil, a 9 mil FC sheet compared to ours, it's even less again. So we're lighter, but we're up to 3 times stronger than the same equivalent thickness sheet. So it's quite strong. Yeah. When I first started WeatherTech, I got us into portable buildings for schools up in Newcastle, basically get heaps of it, and the reason being is the kids are picking that crap out of the walls. So sorry about that. And they used us, but then the kids decided they could still kick the crap out of the ceilings. So, or it will break the lights. But anyway,
So the answer is there isn't a product coming or?
Oh, sorry, no, we'll never be able to get down to that radius on our boards. There's a picture somewhere on YouTube of me with our Indian distributor, and I've got the 3.6 month belt. I've got it up against my foot, and I've been here before it snapped. So it is quite a good bend, but I say 2.4 meter radius on your horizontal boards and 7.2 on the weather group. But builders are doing everywhere this, and they're using the sheet system. You will not get it tighter on a horizontal system because when you cut it, you don't have to miter it, and it's just too hard to do. Sorry about that.
While we're working on condensation and moisture, you say there's wax in the mix.
Yeah.
It's obviously designed for exterior application.
Yes, it is,
But
yeah.
the V groove you showed us there is an interior application.
Oh no, the V groove, all of our boards are designed for exterior,
Okay.
but it's a real trend at the moment, especially when we bought out the 75 vertical system, to use it in houses. And I live down the south coast at Sussex Inlet, and anyone know Culburra Beach or Lulla Bay? What they did at Culburra Beach, they made the box skinnier so they can get more people on it and have more. Everyone has a beautiful beach. And there was 2 houses side by side, unbeknownst to them, they're both using the same product. They're using Weathergroup Natural and Prime. And I walked onto the site, I couldn't believe it was a long, thin site. They've used the primed up in the ceiling, and they had square set. And thought, wow, that looks really good. Since then, I'm seeing 75 mil everywhere. And you're mature adults here. So here's one for you, it always makes me think. And I am a bit cheeky, I don't apologise for that, but I can get very boring in this thing. So I do a lot of first home people, companies. And if I remember when I got my first home, I just married and I really love being married. We're getting a lot of jobs where they're putting texture board behind the main bed. I'm thinking at that time of life, you wouldn't be looking at the wall. Like, seriously, would that really get you going? There is, not necessarily miracle. But also, when you're walking the hallway, you've got to counter some for coats and hats, big time. And that's where they're using 75 mil. A lot of big texture. And I do have some great shots if you ever want. I can send a couple out. There's a build down, at Vincentia, who's on holidays going over in Australia for 2 years, who does great work, and his whole house had all this stuff. It's just great. Yeah,
What does it do for the vulnerability of the wall system?
Sorry?
If you apply it to the interior, what does it do to the vulnerability of the wall system?
Yeah, so that's one of the things. I've never seen the whole walls crack in it, and I don't know how much moisture will move through it because it is very dense. So I think though you'll still get, because of the cold from the outside, because the whole wall's not done, it's still got drip pipe, you're going to get moisture in it. So that's it. The side where they have all the WeatherTechs in it, I'll have to find out. But I know with this one, he's sold that house. It was on a long block and very close to the boundary. You actually can't leave it out open because they have easement, which is quite smart. So if you've got, as designers, you can build over easement, just get cantilever flooring. Anyway, and that it was in a pretty moist area. It was a bit of gully on one side, and yeah, he hasn't had any problems. So it was lovely.
Can I ask about, because over the years I've used it a few times, and the only thing that they talk about is the shrinkage.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of shrinkage, but so I always kind of think of the run length. What's a good run length to stick to, so we don't see visible shrinkage?
Well, with the joiners, we've got various joining systems now. So you've got the individual, like they used to be the old PVC joiners, and now they're polymer, which is much better. They're great, so I'll take that shrink. The tip is, tell your builder to do the top coat on the end of it. So when it does shrink back in the middle too, you don't get a white line. But we also, the biggest trend at the moment for our horizontal boards is we have a T-piece, and they tend to line up all the joints now. So it might run down the outside edge of the window, or some of the builders do it behind the gutters coming down. And they put it behind it, yeah. And they might even cut off a bit of length to fit that in, but a lot don't. I mean, there's a big company called Winco. He's been doing 300 to 400 homes in the last so many years, and he's going to go to them very soon, but not necessarily. But he's starting back on doing that, just something as well. And he started doing that, and they actually made a feature of it. There's another couple that have some made features of it, and especially up in Newcastle and all the ways there. So that's that one. With the weatherproof sheets, beautiful system, because they're toned at each end and you've got your T-channel on it. I never, like, you'll get probably down cracking active with job there where you can get a bit of temperature change. You might get a very little bit of contraction, but because you do 150 on the top plate and 300 down the studs, it's not moving. So the vertical sheet is great. It's our horizontals great. The most people say, hey, it shrunk or whatever, and that's why you do it. You can do a slip joint, there's a good part to do that. And I think the best way is to use, I would love the T-channel. Yeah. Yeah, well, 3 Christmases ago, there were 3 builders stopped up in Canberra because they cut the street on the 2nd floor and it was going into one's yards. We're legally allowed still to be cut on the 1st floor. It's just wood. You will get it on you, and you should wear a big one mask. But as I say, you get it out, it's like having an nuisance. Which I have every day. So, and you also, okay, you never need photos, our website's really good quality. Sorry to take up so much. No, you're right, and thank you for your questions.
All right. Right, so we'll continue on. Maria's got just a presentation for us. I'm just going to do a quick intro for it. But just obviously in regards to accreditation, not necessarily with the BDAA, although that is sort of the first prerequisite. It's accreditation obviously through Department of Fair Trading as a regulated designer. We are going to be, or obviously we're both putting our hands up to assist all those who are looking into getting their accreditation completed or wanting to know the pathways moving forward. There's obviously, there isn't a clear cut direction, I think, or information as to how it's done. And I think I've sent a couple of emails to the department just querying them. Still waiting on a response. Doesn't surprise me, but it is something that we do need to get on top of. And I'll be sort of putting up my time to assist anyone who wants to go down that route. Even if it's not necessarily the type of projects that you want to do, there is benefits of going down that path. Also with the BDAA as well, if first and foremost getting that accreditation through them. Obviously some couple of benefits. Obviously quality assurance. I find obviously myself, obviously it ensures that we meet certain standards and competence and professionalism in regulated building classes. It does look good, obviously having sort of some accreditation on the bottom of your email signatures and so forth now. So obviously with the BDAA and now also with the Department of Fair Trading as a regulated designer. And that does help with your clientele in choosing who's best suited. Obviously compliance, accreditation, it offers, it requires adherence to building codes, regulation and industry standards. Also professional development, accreditation programs allow us to sort of keep up to date with continuing education requirements, and it helps us stay up to date with latest trends, technologies, etc. Number 4, credibility. That's a big one. Accreditation enhances the credibility of professionals and firms like the BDAA in the eyes of clients, regulatory bodies, and the public. So I think as a association, accreditation does go a long way. First and foremost with the BDAA, and follow that through now with regulated building designers. So I think with where the industry is moving, it's something that I'll be encouraging everyone to start pursuing if you haven't already thought about it. If it's, as I said before, if it's something that you don't necessarily aren't thinking about because you're not doing that class of building, I think it's definitely a good thing to do, because as we progress, as we know, potentially class 1 is going to be regulated as well. So we don't want to get to the point where everyone's trying to get accredited because class 1 has become accredited, and it sort of halts your productivity with your business. And that sort of follows through to access to opportunities. So obviously as accredited professionals, we have access to a wide range of projects and opportunities. So looking at phone calls that you receive from potential clients, can you do this, can you do that? It's one of those things where you don't want to be turning away projects. And I think where the housing market is going, we're looking at sort of where things are at. Jobs are becoming a bit more scarce. There's definitely a slowdown in the industry. So I don't think we'll be turning away as many projects as we have been. So it's important to, if there is a class 2 or a class 3 or class 9C project that you're looking at, or someone has come in and asked you if you can do it, there's obviously pathways there that you can do it, obviously with the supervision of someone who is regulated, but also working in with that regulated practitioner to then pursue your own accreditation as well. So they're just sort of five benefits of becoming accredited. I'll leave it to Maria just to have a quick spill on that process.
Good afternoon. So first, before I start talking about the presentation, there is a couple of sheet bundles going around, and the aim is to, if you have any topics that you would like to discuss, if you have heard anything, or if you actually would like to come here and present something, if you just please write down there, that would be very helpful for the chapter, as well as if you are facing a design issue or you are stuck with some sort of compliance, if you please just, write it down, either myself or Jason or somebody within the chapter who would help you arrange a meeting, hopefully after our chapter meetings, to discuss your issues or your questions or your construction details. So hopefully we can be able to mentor each other and get better at certain things, especially when we have solo business and sometimes feel down to who to reach out. Okay, so if you just leave, there are a couple on the tables. If you want to leave any comments there, that would be very helpful. So we now need to be registered as design practitioners in order to be able to sign off on class 2, class 3, and class 9. I want to straighten the word sign off. It doesn't mean the person that designs it and works on it needs to be registered. Okay, that is the very important thing we need to understand. So it means that if, as an example, I work in my office with 5 different other designers, the other designers can do the job as long as one person, example myself, signs off on that job. That is within my business, but we can do it from firm to firm as long as one person holds the accreditation required for that design. That if the person wants to get registered but doesn't have the knowledge yet to get it, it means that you need to work under somebody that is registered for up to minimum 2 projects in order to then you on your own be able to hold your registration. Okay, so I'm going to speak a bit about personal experience on the process that I have regarding the accreditation. If any of you is already accredited and want to talk about your personal experience, please, stop me. This is not a presentation where we can discuss. It is not much information from the fair trading in relation to it. Jason tried to contact them, but as obvious, they just didn't really respond that much. So we're going to go through that, but if they have any update later, or if any of you have gone through it and want to add something, please let us know, okay? So as a building practitioners, we will very soon be required to be registered for working in many of the type of classes of construction. At the moment, only those 3 are required to be under the Design Practitioners Act. However, pretty soon, and I know we were chatting on the WhatsApp chat of the other registrations, we have already reached out for the BDAA, and hopefully we will be able to share something about the conversation that was held yesterday, more like the statement that was given yesterday about what it will be required for further accreditation. But at the moment, are only for those 3 types, okay? So who needs to be registered? The person that requires to sign off on that type of design. So if you don't work on those 3 types of design, at the moment, you don't need to get registered. If you are going to work on it, but you need somebody to sign off, find that person to sign off and get the job, do it. I'll have an agreement with that person or get a mentorship and do it. But somebody that holds the actual registration needs to sign off. So that is the person. And in each design practitioners, somebody needs to have all of these requirements in order to be able to upload it to the planning portal. You cannot just upload it and then wait for somebody to sign it off. Okay, so What is the eligibility? As the first step, regardless of the type of, further in the presentation, there are 3 types of ways of getting registered, but in any of them, we need to have these 2 tick boxes, which are 2 online courses run by TAFE. They are 2 hours each, around $140 each. And once you do them, then you get a certificate which needs to be uploaded as part of your application in the Fair Trading website. So the other requirements of eligibility is being of 18 years or older, have the qualifications, which we will talk about what the qualifications means, the experience, current national police check, and need insurances. Since we are now going to be working in class 2 and the other classes, the insurance will go higher because the risks go higher. Okay, so that is something that we as practitioners also need to think before you get that certificate. Not like, oh yeah, just hold another one. There are certain implications on going higher. So if this is not the type of developments that you are doing, perhaps it's better to have a colleague to sign off on that particular job instead of increasing all of these expenses in your own business. It has a lot of benefits as well, but this is one of the downsides of it. Now, as a building designer, this is the first category that you can apply in order to get the fair trading registration, okay? Very important. This means that you apply to it without having to be registered in the BDAA, okay? So you don't need the registration for the BDAA to get this accreditation, which is the first one. However, you are only allowed to work on class 3 or 9C, no class 2. Okay, so that is the first one. So if you hold this accreditation, you're not allowed to work in class 2 and you cannot sign off in any of these, which in general we are not allowed anyway. But you cannot have engineering work or fire systems and things like that. But only if you are not belonging to the BDAA accreditation, you can apply to this first bracket, okay? The qualification, you need to be a building designer or have an university architectural degree, and you must have at least 5 years of experience, must be at least 2 of them within Australia. And you need to provide certain experience if you are not accredited. Now, I believe that most of us would be in this category. In this category means that you must be Building Designers Association accredited under the low rise. If you are under the low rise, you are eligible to sign off on design and in the design compliance declarations for class 2, but only for those that are not type A or type C construction.
That excludes most class 2 buildings.
I know, that's why it makes sense.
What's a single story class 2 building?
It is one that
Class
is on
one.
top of an open car park.
Exactly.
So it's pointless, and I totally agree with you, but that is the definition of what it is.
I've been chatting to the ambassador about it, and he's been talking to the building commissioner about it.
Yeah, I already talked with
It doesn't
all
make
of
sense.
them, and they said it is what it is, you just need to upgrade to the next.
Yeah, I could have got medium rise, but I went for low rise because that's the kind of work that I believe in. And then it excludes you from doing a standard class 2 building. So I'm like, great, now I need to find another designer to sign it off.
That's exactly what happened.
Even I'm registered for class 2 buildings.
Yes,
because it's excluded
but
that type of construction.
the very confusing bit that put me against the wall was that when this was brought up in late last year, they said to you, if you are registered as a class 2, you don't need to apply for the registration because that will go low.
Yeah, so there'll be like
that was what they said. It didn't.
Ian said I'll have a bridging pathway to medium rise.
It didn't.
Well, now I will, and all this new legislation
It
comes
didn't.
out.
So if I had then, when I was about to sign off for the OC, Then the private certificate said you are not
Yeah.
registered. I said, I design it, I sign off on it. How am I not able to sign off on the OC? No, the registration didn't roll off. So I needed another building designer who sign off on it. Okay, so that is the low rise. So now how can, and we just discussed this pointless brackets to have these points. I already emailed everybody asking us points. So what we need to do, we need the medium, which is the next, and the one that is applicable in reality to work. So that one. So this is the low rise definition. So it is exactly saying that we are only able to work on type A and type B. So we're not allowed to work on type A and type B under this low rise. What is the low rise definition? Which is, in reality, the low rise definition is the type of work that we work at, less than 2,000 square meters. And this, but when they say you cannot have A or B, it means class 2 that is over an open car park. So that is really rare, and we don't really work on that type. I mean, not that often.
But I mean, we kind of need those low-rise class 2 buildings.
Yeah, so that is the next. That is the
it'd
next.
be nice if we could change the category and people,
I know.
because I guess jumping from not registered or anything into medium rise is quite a big difference from
It's a
going
huge difference.
residential homes to medium rise. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So low rise is probably what most people would be comfortable jumping into.
Yeah, but then it comes down in New South Wales, I believe. I believe that what is coming down in the medium rise definition as a building designer. So regardless, when we talk about medium rise, we are only allowed to have up to 3 stories. So the definition of medium rise as a building designer is still a low rise. Okay, so if we move to the next slide, please, this is what we need. Okay, so we need the medium rise accreditation. With the medium rise accreditation, we are able to sign off on class 2 buildings, type A, type B, type C, and the 3 and 9C. What do we need? We need the BDAA accreditation for medium, which at the time I didn't think it was needed for my case because I don't work in medium. And it was more expensive and didn't really change what I could do. So now I need, in personal scenario, which I'm pretty sure most of us are in the same one. Now I need to upgrade my category under the Building Designers Association to medium. How do you get there? Well, then is when I need to demonstrate that I have worked on that type of development. I need the consultants to tell the BDAA that I work with them. I need the clients and all of that, pass the test and all of these things that we had to do for low, but now for medium. And once I get the medium accreditation, then that is makes part of my qualifications. So that BDAA medium, the diploma of building design, the insurance, the police check, the money to pay, and that those ones will be the requirements to get this. So it's not impossible, it's not that hard, it's kind of clear in brackets, but it needs some work.
Sounds easier to become an architect instead.
The bad thing or the good thing is that the architects have to go through this as well. So there is in the fair trading, there is a brackets for architects, and at the lower part of the website, there is the brackets for building designers. So they also have to do it. They also have to do the online course. They also have to provide with experience. So the fact that they are architects, they don't get any benefit. Different only that we still have the restriction of the 3-story, while they don't. But they must provide exactly the same amount of documents and provide the experience. Okay, so then the inclusions, is what I mentioned at the beginning. We are able to work on that. The qualification, we need the BDAA certificate and the building designer's diploma, and experience, which is part of what we will need to provide to the BDAA. This is the definition of what is medium rise and what you will be able to sign up. So That is the exclusion at the last bit for for that type of classes you won't be able to sign. Okay, so what you need, go to that website. You can apply for 1, 3, or 5 years registration. And it says that once you have these documents, it should take around 15. So it's only uploading them, and then that will make the payment, and that will be all. What you need a service account that you can create when you start the application. You need the documents to identify, you need the police check, and you need the copies of those things, which was what we've been discussing, which is the postgraduate, the BDAA, the certificate of the completion of the learning modules. That was the 2 first ones from TAFE. Your contact details and your card for making the payment based on how long you require your accreditation for. Make sure that you hold the insurance through the whole time of the accreditation, otherwise you will get cancelled. And the helpful information is it might take up to 28 days of submitting if they don't get back to you. You will get another of the certificates that we got as the original class 2 registration. And well, that's pretty much what we will require. But if you have any further questions, if you need any assistance, well, can reach out to me. I've been going through the process, or if there is anybody else who has done it, I'm happy to make them. Or if you get into any of these jobs, don't turn them away, just partner with somebody so you get experience and get the registration. Any questions?
Are you still restricted to a maximum 2,000 square meter building?
Yes, that is only if you apply for the low accreditation.
What about the medium?
Oh, for the medium, you are allowed to build them as big as you can, but only up to 3 stories, including the car park.
So there is no
size.
There is no restriction on the amount of the area.
No, for the medium, no.
Would it be worth BDA putting together like advice or guidance on how to partner with another class 2 person?
Like contracts, like
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
do we
that's-
set it up?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. So I'm currently doing it at the moment I've been asked to do it for a project builder who's basically involved in NDIS housing. And they've pretty much come back and said, oh, we need someone to sign off, but we've got the DA approval. They've got all of the necessary documentation, all the access reports ready to go. It certifies come as part of the business requirements and said, oh, this is regulated design. So they've approached me and I've looked at it because I'm like, they've got all the drawings. The only thing they need to do is just work on a bit of specification because these are regulated. They need to collate all of the information in terms of the products test sheets, add all of that to the spec. And the drawings need to talk to the spec. So unlike, class 1, a lot of times we go selected
General spec.
It's actually the specific name of the material, and even as much reference to the Australian standard and NCC within that keynote of that particular item or product. So that's pretty much what we're doing is we'll be just reviewing everything. We'll be showing them the minimum set of documentation that's required. It goes as far as like even penetration plans, right? So in regulated design, you've got, in one job that we're doing, we've got a fire-rated ceiling, but then we've got all downlights. So we've created a reflected ceiling plan. Every single penetration is referenced with a number, and then that then goes back to the spec, and then goes back to the fire report, and everything is linked. So if the building does get audited, the commissioner can say, okay, well, what have you done in this respect? Okay, here's the reference to this penetration, whether it's a downlight or whether it's a PowerPoint, and then they can see that everything has been included within the spec. So pretty much that's what we'll be doing, and I think it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be, considering that we can just tell them, look, we need this construction detail, we need this, and a lot of the time it's fully detailed construction drawings too. So it's not just your detailed floor plans, cross sections. It's proper construction details of the firewall, referencing all of the products. Everything's drawn to scale. So then
we know that there's going to be no conflicts on site. But look, it's a great learning experience. I think for me, you know, I'm the first to say, since doing the class 2 and also the regulated design for 3 and 9, it's, yeah, I've learned so much in the last 12 months. And it's surprising because you think that, oh yeah, we know it all, but when you get down to the nitty gritty and you're looking at the type of screw, even getting the test sheet on the screw, it's like, where did we get this from? So then because we, for argument's sake, we went to CSR. We said, look, this is your system, but you use a proprietary screw. We need the test sheet. They're like, oh, go contact them because that's where we get our screws from. We supply you the screws for the system from them. So then we rang them up and said, oh, we need all the product information test sheets for your screw. They're like, no one's asked us for that before. I said, well, welcome to the, to the new age where, get it ready. So they actually have to go through and dig it out themselves, and they gave it to us. The certify that we've got is very, very particular. I don't know if you've had to do like all the product information on down to the screw, but it is part of the system, right? So when you think about it, it's a tested system, and it's regulated design. So we've got to ensure that the products that the system that we're specifying is compliant. And the fire engineers, they just say, yeah, this system is good, but then they're relying on our details to actually verify that. So we'll assist, in the future, if anyone wants to take on a job like that, we can assist and say, well, this is all the information. I'm happy even to do a presentation next chapter meeting of as to what it actually looks like, and just sort of skim you through all of the documents that we had to provide. And it's just something to sort of be aware of. There's a lot of documentation, but documentation means more work, right? The more work we can get from the one job, I'm finding that I don't have to get as many jobs now to sort of, make ends meet. It's like, well, I can take on a class 2 or class 3 or class 9C, and then just stick to that one job, and then we can spend 10 times the amount of time as we would with a normal bit of job. And then the clients it's about being transparent with the client. One of the jobs that we did, it was with a retired architect. And when we told her what was required, she was like, no, it's not. I said, well, actually, let me get you out of retirement for a little bit and let me show you where the industry has gone. And she was gobsmacked. She could not believe how much information was required. So then we had to enter into a hourly charge with it because, and it was the first one. I've never done it before. So how do I put a price to it? So I entered into a contract with them on an hourly basis, and I just had to give them the surety that, look, I'm not going to drag the chain on this because I want this job out of my books as soon as possible, but we've got to go through this process. So where we were from, we charged them to do the actual DA, so it was more so generating the plans, getting it through council, got approved, then went to the certifier, and then and then regulated design was enforced. We're up about 6 to 7 times the amount in terms of value of project to the original DA plans. So we've accumulated so much time that the DA process is like 15% or 20% of what the end value is. And that's how much work is actually involved.
I want to add something quickly to that point, and is that personally, when we do CDC set of drawings, or when we used to do CC set of drawings, you kind of show what is needed and what is the minimum. Okay, so, and then you get the approval, and builders know how to do many things. Well, under this regulated design, you actually need to combine what we used to call the detailed documentation. So it's where you actually add all the details of everything and more, plus introducing all the consultants. I work mostly currently with NDIS and group homes, and I was working on the 5 jobs that got approved the same 6 months before, and another 5 jobs that I'm now currently getting approved. And suddenly I jumped from having to have 5 consultants to having to have for the same type of design, 10 or 12 consultants. Okay, and this is something that the client needs to be aware of, because the client might say, a year ago I built this for $1 million. Well, now with $1.5 million, because the amount of work that us as architects or that this building designer will need to put into is different. But on top of that, there is no difference of building a high rise of 50 levels to build a group home of 10 bedrooms. There is no difference in the amount of consultants. I need mechanical, I need facade, I need fire, and all of these things needs to be part of the set of drawings. So this is correct, but the amount of consultants and coordination between them is what is already into these classes. The good thing is we meant to be already involved in that. And even if we feel like this is not part of what we are doing, as how we saw it yesterday, it could be a matter of 1 or 2 years, where perhaps we don't need a facade and mechanical engineer for a 3-bedroom dwelling, but they will find a way of at least making you detail the whole house and having a lot of the design, a lot of consultants.
How do we explain that to the client?
Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine the type
company.
of conversations that you have to, and then I don't wanna pay that, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Throwing the
why
CC
am I, why is my
5
fault? Can
times
you
more
call the,
expensive.
can you call?
You do
I'm
it,
doing
yeah.
Yeah, all my assessors are like doubling.
Yeah.
I reckon it's broken.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah.
It's getting more and more
My
expensive.
package, I have like a spreadsheet that shows my cost, every consultant that will be required, and like most jobs is like in the 1980s, and I go, are you willing to do this even before you sign me on? It's like, it's a small fee that they pay at the start to see what it's actually gonna cost upfront, and most people go, it's not gonna be that, and I'm like, you're gonna need it.
That's right. Yeah. So I guess that's another thing is yeah, how do we inform our clients that this is what's going to be needed. And I think we've got to be very careful, because what you don't want to get caught in, and I nearly got caught on this, was, yeah, you honour a quote, and regulated design kicked in, and then I realised, oh, this is actually not class 1, this is a class 2 because of an overlap. And then going back to the client and saying, look, I only charged you about 6K for your CC drawings, but you know, it's regulated design out there. And the first question they say, or they ask me, was actually 2. Well, shouldn't you have known?
Yeah.
Well, legislation changes.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, I dislike these conversations with the clients because you're already halfway through. And like the worst thing is it's all about the whole, you know, bait and switch, you know, and that's what they don't want is to be baited and then we switch. So they're like, oh, did you do this on purpose to get the job? Because when they are price comparing, they're looking at, you know, apples for apples, what have you allowed for. The way I get away with it, so look, no other quote you got included regulated design. It's a new thing that's come up. Unfortunately, this is the cards that have been dealt to us, and we've now got to roll with these punches. So yeah, some of the clients are a bit, you know, gracious in that respect.
That's what we were talking about before, like the contracts. So that first package has that clause in there that government, whatever, can change.
Yeah, well,
and
that's
council
right.
changes, Like we can't control it.
No, that's it. And like in my fine print, which is at the back of our quotations of fee proposals, there is a clause in there. It's funny when you refer them to, say, you know, section 14.2 of the contract. They look at you like, do you honestly think I read it? You signed on the line, like, you know, yeah, you did read it because you actually signed saying that you did read it and you understood. Yeah, but yeah, so we'll carry through and sort of see how best we can do that. Yeah, I'll be trialing it with another builder in the coming weeks, and I'll suss out how it works, and also look at how much time I'll then spend supervising, and then sort of get an indication, so that if you do take on the job, you can say to any one of us that are, you know, registered, hey, what's it going to cost for you to supervise? I'll know a decent amount, so I'll just add X amount to your proposal for the certification.
So you're saying we have to have a class 2 register to do them or experience to do the medium registration?
Yes, for either registration, because when you do the BDAA registration, you need to prove the experience.
Yeah.
So if you are going to go to the medium, you need to hold the medium registration under the BDAA. So you need to provide them with your experience, not to the fair trading. The fair trading, you don't need to send any project, or they don't care about that. They care about your certificate from the BDAA that says that you are meeting. So if you hold low, then you need to upgrade to the medium first under the Building Designers Association, and then you send them to them. So in order to get the registration in the Building Designers Association, you need to have experience in minimum 2 jobs. And if you don't have it, then you need to work under somebody for minimum 2 jobs, and then that person will sign a letter saying to the Building Designers Association that you have experience, and then you go through that process.
The second question to that is, like I was saying before, I know you were doing it now with the field job, but is there gonna be guidance from the BDA of like how that relationship is set up, whether it's like someone offering their drafting for free to someone that is class 2 and they're signing on, or whether it's a paid service, it's like maybe I'm pessimistic, but all the cost of mine.
I'll tell you from my personal experience, because I needed to sign off on the OC, I didn't have the required certification, and I couldn't hold the build up for OC until I sorted out. So John Hatch signed off on it for me. It is almost impossible that anybody from the BDAA will sign off on it, because pretty much they put in their insurance on your name. So there is no such a thing. So what I personally experienced is that John Hatch got paid for assessing my drawings, giving me any markup that he wanted or that he thought that it was needed on the as-built drawings, and any notations that couldn't have been missed or whatever. Went on site, checked all the drawings, made sure that it was built as per it meant to be built, and from there he signed it off.
But what I was coming at, there's 2 scenarios, like obviously I'm maybe a bit pessimistic, but someone can hold someone at ransom and be like, you need to pay me 10,000 for me to sign up, because I'm not gonna do it unless you give me 10 or 15, there's no guidance to how much you need to spend. And then second, if you're signing off on someone else, like you said, it's your liability, it's your insurances, it's everything that you work for, like the builder I was gonna say. The other person didn't have the HIA insurance at a higher level, so he knows this person, friendly, puts his insurance on that person's business, that the company goes bankrupt, now he's liable to fix those homes and finish the building. Like there's all these.
There's definitely, there's so many moving parts here, and I totally understand. So this is why it's important with projects is to get the regulated designer involved really early in the piece. So it is a collaborative approach. And this is what I've had to say with this other project is, look, yes, it's not just a sign off I'm doing. I'm not just looking at documents and I'm not just going to take a couple of grand just for putting my signature on. No. This is going to be a full review of what you've provided me. It's my duty of care that I do that, because at the end of the day, something goes wrong, then I've lost my ticket.
You're becoming an external consultant.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and if the building commissioner decides, that he wants to pick on a group home or an NDIS home and see how that's built. Some of those NDIS homes, every bedroom is its own little fire compartment. So it's quite important that they get treated the same as sort of larger complexes too.
How does that work with the certifier as well? Does the certifier look at the regulated design and come to you?
Yeah, so again, that's where it is. Like, if you've got us being held sort of accountable, where's the certifier involved? So it's more so our job is to ensure that the design and the documentation is compliant to the Australian standards and NCC codes. So everything that we spec everything that is installed in the actual building has to be specified and detailed so it does comply. The certifier's job is to review it as like a second layer and say, yes, it does comply. In some cases, like what we're doing now, we're dealing with performance solutions because there's certain things with this particular existing building that there's no deemed to satisfy details in the NCC for subfloor fire rating and so forth, because we want to use alternative products. So then it's a performance solution. So just in veering from a deemed to satisfied, there's 4 consultants that we have to get involved. And on top of that, it has to be referred to the fire services for a final sign off. So there is a lot of moving parts. So it's important for us to get involved really early in the piece. It is a collaborative approach. And yeah, like I'm happy for the drafting and the client sort of coordination or liaison to be done by, say, yourselves, but then we take on a role very similar to a certifier where we're checking and signing off.
So to answer further your question, the solution of that non-pessimistic but realistic approach is to get registered yourself. That is the solution. Now, how pricey it can get? Yeah, somebody might charge you 10, 20, 30,000 because it's their liability and everybody will have different fees which are respected. You know, somebody might say 1,000, somebody might say 20,000, and you just have to discuss a fair price with that. And in relation to how people can get the experience, well, that is when then you might be able to approach somebody locally in the sense, for example, Jason, hey Jason, I really want my exposure with this job. I need to get it and I want you to mentor me. What is his benefit? I don't know. You might be able to get with a person that is doing that type of job, a business arrangement or something in order for you to get the experience or work under somebody for a certain period of time where, for example, if somebody in my office wants to do it, then I will allow them to put their name next to my name in the title block, and that gives them the experience. So that is type of arrangements that you will need to make with somebody that is registered.
It's one thing to say like we can charge, like obviously we think there should be a charge from the person doing it, but if we're offering our services of drafting and fully documenting the project as well, but it's coming from your office, then
it doesn't have to be from your office. So it can be with your title block, it can be sign off, everything can be from you, but the sign off of the project needs to be from somebody registered. So even if I don't have any because my company, for example, work for Utilities Building Design, they don't have to do anything with my registration. They don't sign off on that. I sign off on it. Maria Laverde. Independent, if I resign today, I will still be able to sign off because I hold the registration. So I could sign off on your central building design as Maria Laverde with your title block.
Just remember as well, with the regulated design, there is a submission to the department on the portal, and all your drawings have to be formatted in a particular way. So you download their title block that has the regulated stamp on the top. So it's almost like you do away with the title block. You can't put your little title block in the little gaps, but there is a standard set of title block, and so that's another sort of added layer of work that you've got to do as well. Is because sometimes when you eat construction drawings for a builder, they don't want to see that regulated title block. They want to see their title block. They want to format it in their way. The documents that you submit has to have that particular title block, and it's across the board. So at any time, the building commissioner, if they want to do an audit, they're looking at the same format. Okay, this top left-hand corner has the details of the regulated designer. There's the address of the property, and it's all the same. So to give an example, my office spent, I think, about 5.5 hours changing all the drawings to the title block, to the correct, well, not the correct one, but the format. So before we upload it to the portal. So that was a bit of an exercise in itself.
Is this for all categories of building or just?
No. So
just
2, 3,
currently for that. But it is expected that in the next 10 years it will be for everybody.
Like, so I only do resi, that's it. So where you guys are doing this, do you then have a lot of involvement on site?
Yeah, so good. That's a great question. So what happens is because by the time we've detailed this job, we like, I know the ins and outs of this job. I know exactly how to, I could almost manage it myself, right? Because you spend all this time detailing it. It's, you have to make yourself available on site. And the reason is because if the builder decides to even make the slightest variation,
It's gotta be.
even changing,
Yeah.
changing the screw, like I've got a test data sheet for my screw.
Yeah.
Even if he says, oh, I'm not gonna use a private product, I wanna use a different product, he's gotta let me know, because that's a variation. I've got to document that. And then I've got to submit it again. Yeah,
Right.
So,
That's an architect service, really.
sorry?
Hourly rate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've got, so this job, it's about to kick off in Austin here on Lawrence Hargrave Drive. We've been going with this job for about 5.5 years. It's one of the longest jobs I've had on my books, only because we had to go through the process of a strata, and then it was a BIC because there was unauthorized works, and then it went back and forth, and there was non-compliances with NCC, so it had to be fixed. And council were like, "You put the chicken before the egg in terms of what do we give you approval for?" We're like, "We want you to give us approval so we can modify the non-compliances." They're like, "But how do we give you approval for stuff in retrospect?" So it's been going on and on and on, to the point where, yes, you've got to be very specific in that any on-site consultation is charged at an hourly rate.
Yeah.
And how I have deal with that, I have mostly, I know it's very hard for clients, but since what I do is mostly NDIS and group homes in NDIS, they have engaged the builders from the design perspective, since I was in design. So the builders have selected the waffle of the walls because they have class 2 and independent villas, and we have detail, and they have told which is the vanity they want to be using, which is the shower, which is the screw, which is the windows, all of these things. So they make part of the design from the beginning, and any detail that I might have done wrong or that I don't know how to do it, then the builder will be available in case to sit down with them. So in my side of things, I haven't had to go to site as much because I have been with the builder from the beginning. So what he is receiving is not a set of drawings that is like, okay, don't use any of these things. This is what I've been requested. And in order to solve, and just to quickly talk about the kind of changes, one of the things that Glenn was talking about molds, and I have come out with, we have been introduced to a solution that is a new type of windows that brings something called trickle windows, which is basically some sort of window ventilation that you can open and switch off while not having to open the whole window. So what it happens is that most of the times it lets the air circulates, but it does have some filters within the windows, and that doesn't change it gets the air in and out, but you don't feel the cold air getting in, which is the biggest concern in relation to when you have circulated air, that you actually have a cold air coming in, and because of the system that holds the glass, it doesn't transfer noise. So it is more expensive, but if anybody's interested, there is a few companies that are already introducing them, and they're called Trickle, yes.
So in the scenario where you're not registered and you need to work with yourself as a registered designer, when there's changes of products and uploads of data sheets, you're the person doing that. So
The person that submitted it in the portal.
the registered designer.
No, he can't register it, but he will need to sign off on it.
Yeah, so you
He
sign
can't
off on
be-
every product change, every variation, every change.
But we're like, for argument's sake, the change this product, you have to go through now the sheets and change all the referencing to that particular.
Goes in the spec.
Yeah, so that's something that will,
Cloud drawers do all of it.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
We're just sort of coordinating that whole process.
Yeah, so it's a pretty intense process.
Yeah.